The Holocaust is the most significant genocide in human history. It started during the reign of Adolf Hitler in Germany between 1933 to 1945 during the Second World War. It consisted of killing people for their ethnic, religious, or racial preferences or interests. During the Holocaust, about 11 million people were executed, which 6 million were Jewish and 5 million were disabled people, homosexuals, communists, and other religious and ethnic minorities. Adolf Hitler introduced anti-Semitic laws, which its only purpose was to discriminate Jewish people living in the areas he controlled. Nazis believed Jews were a problem which needed to be removed.
During Rwanda's colonial period, the Belgians favored the minority group called the Tutsis over the majority group that is called the Hutus. This made the Tutsis oppress the Hutus, which created tension that soon exploded into violence even before they gained their independence. An estimated of 500,000 to 1 million Rwandans were killed, which form an estimated 70% of the Tutsi population. Some actors in this genocide were the Tutsis, the Hutus, Belgian colonizers, and the United Nations. After Belgium granted Rwanda independence, in 1973, a military group placed Major General Juvenal Habyarimana, a moderate Hutu, in power where he lasted about 2 decades. In 1999, the Rwandese Patriotic Front, that consisted of Tutsi refugees, invaded Rwanda. So for the attack to end, negotiations between the RPF and the government were made so they will share the power. This angered extremist Hutus, which would take extreme decisions to stop this from happening. In 1994, the plane that carried Habyarimana and Burundi's president was shot down. In the accident, both died. After some hours of the plane crash, several groups that were against the Tutsis barricaded roads and started killing Tutsis and moderate Hutus. This violence quickly spread throughout the rest of Rwanda.
Yugoslavia was a very diverse country, made of 6 republics and 2 provinces that coexist harmonically under the same government, led by Josip Broz, known as Tito, after the death of Tito and the fall of communism, as well as a great economic crisis. In the early 90s, each group sought for its independence and unleashed the Balkan War. On the other hand, Serbia wanted to form its own state and began with the ethnic cleansing, in which they displaced all non-Serbs mainly in Bosnia. After the declaration of independence of the Serbs, they attacked Bosnia for 44 months, forcing the population to live in extreme violence. There was no water, food, and the use of snipers was the worst of this genocide. The massacre consists in the murder of approximately 8,000 Bosnian Muslims. The exact number will surely remain a mystery. The most accurate data speaks of 8,373 people. The NGO Matrix has produced a register of 8,000 disappeared.
Before the Spanish conquest, several indigenous people were known to engage in homosexual activities. After the conquest, however, such practices became forbidden by all subsequent forms of government, until 1871, when the French intervention introduced the Napoleonic Code, which decriminalized homosexual practice. Laws against public indecency or immorality could still be used and were in fact used to persecute homosexuals. Mexico is a mostly Catholic country, and as such its attitudes toward homosexuality have often been negative. It has been reported that from 1995 to 2005, 387 hate crimes against homosexuals have been committed in Mexico City alone, with 98% of them remaining unprosecuted. Additionally, it is estimated that over the last 20 years, 1.310 hate-motivated murders have been committed against them. Attitudes are expected to change, however, with the general populace becoming more and more open to the idea of homosexuality and same-sex marriage.
Mortality data is a way of measuring violence. This data can also be used for monitoring changes over time in fatal violence. But not all type of violence is represented by mortality data. Other types of information and data are necessary to address all types of violence and understand it. data such as health data on diseases, injuries, and other health conditions, self-reported data on attitudes, beliefs, behaviors, cultural practices, victimization, and exposure to violence, community data on population characteristics and levels of income, education, and unemployment, crime data on the characteristics and circumstances of violent events and violent offenders. Some potential sources of the various types of information include individuals, agency or institutional records, community and government records, and population-based and other surveys. Nowadays, violence has become a topic that is almost guaranteed that you will see or hear about it every day. And we should take the importance to prevent becoming part of that problem. Violence is a vicious cycle and is very hard to break. And obviously, we should not take violence as an answer to our problems. Of course, no. I think that I am a very pacific person because I always try to hear every different opinion, and also I am always looking to say things without harming anyone. No, I am not, but I think that if I was, I would tell an adult person so that they could help me get away of that problem, because sometimes you can't do it by your own. I don't think so. It is very important to control yourself at any point. There cannot be a tolerable level of violence because maybe for you it's tolerable, but for other people that may be a high level of violence.